And we're back and doing the show actually in order for once, but it doesn't matter because it's not a live show. Joining myself, Peeze and Terry Tam on our Hot Streak guest line is joining us is Frankie Verrillo, wrestler in Torture Chamber, perhaps the greatest name of any wrestling federation ever. It kind of makes like WWE seem kind of like, kind of for babies, right? Like Torture Chamber, shit's going down.
3 people die every show. That's a given.
At least, yeah.
It's true. I saw a show once and 3 people died.
Yeah.
But it's always 3. It's always 3. And they didn't really do anything about it. They just kind of like dragged them off and put them under the ring.
There we go.
I wonder what the smell was when I walked in, but I thought Stefan Paulin farted because of all the protein.
It might have just been me.
Just your whole thing, your whole body.
Yeah.
Your whole aura.
Once a week. It's on Thursdays, and the shows are on Sundays. So by then, I reek.
So what's your finishing move?
My finishing move is I jump off the top rope, catch the guy into a DDT, and swing 180 degrees to pin him to the ground.
Who did that?
So it's
Who used to do that?
It's a little scary if the guy's smaller than me, which is pretty much never. It's not something I do. Luckily for me, the guys are always bigger, so I'm not scared of them catching me.
So we have Stefan Paulsen. He's been on the show a couple times. He's a good friend of mine.
Awesome.
He's a great wrestler. So what would be your call out to him if you wanted to call him out right now?
My call out to him, honestly, if it were to face him, I tell him just that he's just too damn good and too complicated, and I just need to shut him up. But as a friend, I say, hey, how's it going? You're a good guy.
Hey,
but
how are you?
deep down inside, I hate everyone, so it is what it is.
You have that old wrestling hate.
One of the things I always find most interesting about wrestlers is when you're coming up with your alter ego, with your identity, with your character. I'd like to know about the ones that didn't make the cut. So tell us about how you formed your character, and then also like give us the worst one. And looking back, you're like, yeah, thank God I didn't go with that one. That one's pretty bad.
To be honest, I never really gave myself a character. It's just the guy you see out there is me, and I guess I kind of change with the times. And it honestly goes with my mood. There's days where I'm motivated and I want to be there. There's days where I'm tired. The kids pissed me off all night, so I'll be just a little bit angrier. But obviously, I'm Frankie Verrillo, so it's me. Maybe amplified a tad, but at the end of the day, you'll get me. Yes, there's been versions of me early on where, I'm not sure what I'm doing. You bump into the guy and you have that wide stare, like, oh, what the hell do we do next? But at the end of the day, I'm me. We've had other possibilities before I started wrestling where I was supposed to be this kind of like grit, evil, weird, like aggressive guy. But I'm pretty laid back, so it's kind of hard for me to go out there and pretend I'm a hick. But it is what it is. So I'm out there. I'm me. I'm angry. If you look at me the wrong way, I might just tell you to go fuck yourself. Very politely, because we're not, it's a family show. We don't swear.
Yes, of course.
We're the chamber is very good for that. And for a guy like me, who
thought that the Torture Chamber just screams family show. Like maybe
I know. It's I get what you're saying, but it's very family oriented. You can go there and not really have to worry about your kids seeing things they don't need to see. It's not true that 3 people die a show. That was just me trying to get some views. But it is what it is. It's like I said, I've never had any failed characters. I haven't been wrestling for 20 years either. But if we're lucky, this is going to be my failed character.
That's the dream. That's the dream.
Yeah, it's the dream. The dream is to fail.
So who do you? Obviously you're a wrestling fan growing up. I don't think there's any young male in North America that wasn't a wrestling fan growing up. So who were your guys? Who are your inspirations? Who are the guys that you followed all the time?
The inspirations are the Bret Harts, the Shawn Michaels, the Owen Harts, the Chris Jerichos. Obviously, my biggest, youngest memories are guys like Hulk Hogan, Royal Rumble 90, 91. He's the one who, I guess, opened my eyes to the sport, but it's the little guys that moved and that, that they were very articulate in the ring. Those are the guys that kind of, that drew me in, like I said, the Jerichos, all that, the Owens. It comes down, the big guys has never been my thing because I can't relate.
So it's funny you said that about the small guys. Is that I always appreciated the small because they were always the more entertaining when you saw them in the ring. The bigger guys were always, maybe they were better on the mic or they had big moves, slam like a tombstone or whatever. You know what I mean? But a guy to me that never really got the respect he deserved was in WCW. It was Billy Kidman.
Yeah.
Billy Kidman.
He was star press. Yeah, he was. He was something. He was something. I'll admit he's a guy that kind of like came to me a little later. I was a Monday Night Raw guy, so the WCW guys, I wasn't all that. I was familiar with them, but they weren't my cup of tea type thing. The show always seemed a little low budget, despite it not being. I mean, the money was there, but it was just there was that weird feel to it. But yeah,
it
Kidman was
grungy.
Sorry,
it looked grungy.
In the Monday Night Wars, you wouldn't ever switch back to Nitro.
No, to be honest, I watched Monday Night Raw on TSN, and the prime times of Monday Night Wars. This is 97, 98, so I'm 10, 11. I'm not really. I don't
I forget that I'm older than everyone on Earth.
What's that?
I keep forgetting that I'm super old.
Yeah, it's just, to be honest, I don't even think my parents had the channel that played Nitro back in the day.
Fair.
So,
what was it back in the day?
I don't even know. I know it played, I think, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. for a while. Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's either I wasn't aware or I just, didn't cover. I used to watch Arthur on PBS, so it was all about Arthur, man.
Well, I think it was TNT because what's his name owned it.
It was initially on TNT. I don't know who had the Canadian broadcast.
Yeah, let's talk about the Canadian. I think it was TSN on the Tuesdays, but it was by the time I caught on, we were talking about NWO Black and Silver.
Yeah.
So you got Jim Jarrett, Scott Steiner.
Yeah.
Those were the extremely garbage years.
Oh, you didn't like them?
I mean, I individually, yeah, but the concept of having 14 different NWOs was just like.
Yeah,
another thing
to be like.
Sorry, go.
Go ahead, Terry.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it got to be like the end of the Spider-Man cartoon show where everyone was a clone, like the kind of.
Yeah, about that. Forgot about that one.
All the NWOs.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is that it became a little ridiculous that like there was like 90% of the roster was an NWO member.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, that was the ridiculous part. But that was just. You could tell that back in the day, WWE had much better writers than WCW. WCW was like, we have the money, we can do whatever the fuck we want.
Exactly, yeah. Even though the WCW went off to buy the WWF writers, and we all know how that ended up.
Yeah, not really well. Not well. But I was the same thing as you. I didn't really. I followed WCW because you kind of had to. They had some big names, and it was fun. Like Juventud Guerrero back in the day was in WCW, so I like to watch him. Like I mentioned, Billy Kidman. We thought NWO was like super famous thing. Like NWO was.
You had guys like Alex Wright. Alex Wright was a joke because of his dance, but the dude was insane in the ring. Like he knew what he was doing.
That Disco Inferno you're talking about, right?
Well, there was Disco Inferno, but there's the Alex Wright used to do that weird dance.
Yes.
Guy. Yeah.
I forgot about him.
He was really good, but he was just known as that idiot who danced, and that was about it.
One thing I'm always curious about is how people get into wrestling in the first place. In general, I've never understood combat sports. Terry does jiu-jitsu. I've never wanted to get hit, so it's never really been my thing. But specifically, sort of wrestling, sort of where athletics meets theatrics. Like, what got you into that? How did you start your path onto wrestling?
Yeah, it's to be honest that. Like most people my age, there was that backyard wrestling phase where you're breaking your back for absolutely no reason other than the fun of it. I had tried a wrestling school when I was 16. It wasn't much of a school. It was just this weird guy who claimed he was a wrestler and made me train in a boxing ring. And I took such a beating that day that like my mom just like begged me, please don't go back. I don't like seeing you like this. So I was like, okay, I won't go back. It was the beating I took. I was like, is it worth it? And then, give or take 8 years later, I'm 24. I moved out. I don't need my mom's approval anymore. I decided to start looking up. One of my cousins had gone into contact with Drew Onyx, which is the head trainer at Torture Chamber Pro Dojo, and gave him a call. Decided to go for it, and never looked back. Never looked back.
Yeah, Drew Onyx he's a legend in the city, man, and it's. he was also a good football player too. And the thing about Drew Onyx is that like he big guy, but fucking he can move. He can
Absolutely.
Oh man.
He's someone I've tagged with. I faced him once, and you don't want to get speared by him. You know, I'm 3 feet tall. I weigh 120 pounds wet. I don't want to die. I don't want to die.
Did you ever get a chance to train with Kevin Owens? I know he was kind of affiliated a long time ago with Torture.
No, he's been to the chamber a few times, but he happened to be there every single time I wasn't there, which I guess kind of goes with the person I am. I'm a bit of a family-oriented person, so I wasn't at the classes as often as I should have been. To be honest, if it wasn't for Drew kicking me in the ass, I might have never, reached where I wanted to be. Sometimes I could be a bit on the lazy side. I wouldn't want to go. And one day he told me, dude, you're wrestling June 21st, 2014. Be fucking ready. And I'm like, oh shit, I got 2 months to get this shit going. I got no boots, no pants. So I was all in. It's when you say you dive in, I dove in, and that's it. Yeah.
I've seen your outfit, but describe your outfit to the people listening.
My outfit are just plain blue tights with 4 white stars on each side. I got the classic Mr. Perfect white boots with the FV initials on it. And I got black knee pads, and I'll alternate between the high red socks or the high black socks. So sometimes I'll wear one red and one black, depending on how I feel.
Throw people off.
Exactly.
I love it, man. I love the different kinds of outfits, Peeze.
If someone's catching up with Torture Chamber now, what are like the main storylines people should look out for? Do you guys have them to carry?
Obviously, the storylines have they've taken a hit in the last year and a couple months because of COVID. But any storyline that's concerning the NWA Canadian Tag Team Champions, which is the Night Train Express, you got Mustafa and Jordan, Stefan, like we were talking about earlier. Those guys are absolutely insane. Everybody that goes after them for those titles, those are very interesting stories. Anything involving, Mike Marston, Drew Onyx, can't go wrong. Towards the end, I was tagging with Kevin Bryan. We're heels, a bit on the goofy side, a little bit maladroit, like we say in French. We find ways to win despite, being a little bit offset. And we kind of like blend in well despite not necessarily having the perfect timing type thing.
So when I came to see you, you looked right at Stefan Pole's son and like told him like, was it you? I'm pretty sure it was you. It was Mr. Wonderful. And you looked right at me. You said something to him. If I bring my nephew, he's a little weasel. Can you just like tell him off?
I would love to.
All right, let's do it.
It's there's nothing I love more than going out there and letting it all out.
Making a little kid cry.
Back sometimes I've been. That depends what I'm told. I can get a little aggressive. I can go after the wrong people. But I'm a father now, so I kind of try not to aim after the parents. But at the same time, there's often times where I hate my own kids. So it's really easy to hate somebody else's kid or their nephew for that matter. It's part of the game.
Next time my godson tramples through my garden, I'm gonna bring him to one of the events, and you can do whatever you like. Frankie, it's all yours.
Make him wear a very obvious hat, and I'll have fun with him.
For sure. What's going on in terms of you guys now? Like, I would imagine you haven't been able to do events because of COVID. Or are the restrictions still applicable?
They're still there. I contact Drew every now and then, find out what's going on. I know that the practices are starting to, open up sooner rather than later. I don't have a date because, even the government isn't really like too stable on their predictions. So it's one of those things where, going in the ring, there's not much happening right now. But, I guess I'm keeping up for myself, whether it's, lifting a bit of weights, running, watching a hell of a lot of DVDs. There's a good chance that even after having a year and plus off, I might have like one of my best matches coming back because I'm like, I can't wait to get in there and either give or take the beating. It's all good for me,
So Peeze and I, we would be a good tag team, but we wouldn't wrestle. So we call ourselves the Hot Saucers, but we be those guys that like always like at the end of the fight we come in and like beat somebody up and then run through the crowd. Like that's what we do. Is there a place for that in torture chamber? But we don't want to do any of the practices and like work on our cardio and stuff. We just want to do that.
There's a place for you if you want a legitimate beating. Yes. You got to give it your all. You got to come to these practices, and because if you want to go in front of that crowd, and you'll get a few hits in, but if you just hit the rope wrong, you'll be limping for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You're fucked. Yeah.
What I was thinking is, we show up, we do the whole walk down to the ring, and then just as we're supposed to get started, we give someone a suitcase full of cash, and they win the fight for us.
Okay.
They're just two randos in the crowd.
Yeah.
So they would have to get in for you.
Yeah. And we coach them from the outside.
Yeah, they don't fucking stand a chance.
We want all the glory and none of the work.
Yeah. I could pitch the idea. There's a good chance it won't happen, but I can pitch it for sure.
Okay, how about this?
We hand Frankie a suitcase full of cash. He jumps off the top
rope. If you hand anybody a suitcase of cash, it's me for sure.
All right, cool. We'll give it to you, Frankie.
Yeah.
So, or we walk down, we do the whole walk, we celebrate, we rile people up. People are cheering, hot saucers. And then all of a sudden, we just like Peeze like pretends he pulled his back, and I'm holding him like he can't do it, and then we walk away, and then the ref just comes in and like lifts the other guy's hands up, and that's basically our shtick. That's a good shtick.
Yeah. Well, so you guys are pretty much gonna lose every fight.
Yeah.
But we're injured, so we're not really losing.
Okay.
We're withdrawing.
We're actually undefeated.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're
lost.
So it's a good story. No, it's a good.
It's a fantastic story. I'm sure it'll go nowhere, but it's a fantastic story.
And there's a good chance that I don't even have to fake pulling my back. It'll happen anyway.
We're at that age for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Ankles. I'll roll my.
I can't even brush my teeth without pulling my neck.
Yeah,
that's what if you take the suitcase of cash, you get someone to brush your teeth for you.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I forgot I have a girlfriend.
Frankie.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to being able to catch you soon. Hopefully, we'll get you back on as we get closer and closer to things reopening. That way, when you have a show to promote, we'll be happy to do it for you. We love what you guys are doing in Torture Chamber. Again, oddly named for a family venture, but it is absolutely a family venture. It is an exciting place to be.
You don't have to worry about anything. Worst case, I'll spit in their face. But that's all right.
I would definitely want you to spit in my nephew's face. Yeah. Absolutely.
No, I wouldn't do that though. Yeah, no. I don't want to do anything to others that I don't want done to me. So
you'll have nightmares.
Yeah, no. I just see other people do it on the net, and I get these not panic attacks, but I just get anxious of the thought of like that's just too far. That's just too far.
You're officially the third wrestler I've interviewed. So there's been you, there's been Stéphane Paulin, and Bret Hart. I actually interviewed Bret Hart. Yeah, on a radio show that I hosted years ago, and I wish I could find that copy, but that radio station was so like unorganized. They for sure lost it.
How was that, Terry? I've often heard he's a bit ornery in interviews. He's not always pleasant.
He was so dry, and I fucked up at one point. I said because we were talking about the thing with Owen Hart. It was when he did the documentary. I forgot what it was called, and it was. Dark Side of the Ring, could it be?
Shadows.
In the Shadows or something like that. Oh, fuck, I forgot what it was called. Anyway, it was a great documentary.
Messing with Shadows.
And it was the one where Owen Hart. It was this documentary about how Owen Hart fell and he died. And at one point, I asked him, I go, "Do you think the proper precautions were taken? Like, what happened?" He's like, "Well, of course, the proper
Wrestling
precautions
with
were
Shadows
taken."
was the name of it, 1998.
Yeah, Shadows.
Yeah. And he goes, "Well, of course, there was no precautions. They weren't taken. They weren't taken properly, or else my brother would be alive." And I felt really bad.
Yeah, I know.
That was the end of the
subjects that it was such a freak accident that no matter how you come with the conversation, it wasn't a move. It wasn't a car wreck. It was one of these stunts that happened twice in 30 years, and one of those 2 times it just went horribly, horribly wrong.
It's tough, and he just had he was bitter with the WWE at that point, so I think he was just looking for any reason to like kind of hate on them. Anyway, that's what it is. We appreciate you coming on, Frankie, man.
If people want to keep up with the comings and goings of Torture Chamber, where can they find that information?
There's Facebook. You can look up Torture Chamber. There's Instagram. You can look up TC Pro Dojo. That's it. TC Pro Dojo. Just look up Torture Chamber. You can look it up on Google. You can find it on YouTube. Drew Onyx has a Torture Chamber page on YouTube. there's got to be, easily 20, 30, 40 matches posted on there. Some of me, some, I don't, just maybe 5, 6, 7 of mine. There aren't that many. But you guys want to see guys like Stefan, Drew, go for it. There's a ton. There's a ton.
Yeah.
I will put a little preface on this. If you're going to Google it, definitely search Torture Chamber Wrestling and not just regular Torture Chambers, please.
Yeah.
I think that's just a problem for your algorithm, Eagle.
Yeah, because Eagle, we all know what you
It's
do.
personalized, I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We all know what Eagle does in the shadows.
Check it out. We do have the it's going to be in the description of the podcast. We also have it on the screen, but of course there are people who just listen to the podcast as an audio medium, so we want to make sure they got the information. Frankie, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk soon, bud. As soon as we have another show to promote, we'd love to have you on. We'll get into more old school wrestling stories. I love that.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, guys. Very appreciate it.
Fantastic.
Have a good one.